Now what I do, and again, you start out with the proper size cleaning jag here. As soon as I find it, there we go. This is the .30 caliber jag. I'm going to open my solvent. Now you hear a lot of people talk about running a dry brush through, or getting a brush and soaking it in solvent and running that through to loosen everything up. I don't do it quite that way. What I normally do, I'm going to put a bucket down here to catch any of the solvent that drips out. I use patches to begin with. And what I like to do is get the inside of the bore saturated with my cleaning solvent. By the way, these little hemostat roach clip things, for you police officers out there, if you confiscate some of these things and you're not going to need them for evidence, don't steal anything. But if you can get some of these things that no longer have any evidence value or anything, they are great for working on firearms. And what I'm going to do right now is use this to reach down into my cleaning solvent, so that way I don't have to get solvent all over my fingers. When I bring it out, I'll take my cleaning rod with the properly sized jag, and I'm just going to run that saturated patch right down the bore. Just like that. This rifle's probably had, about 20 shots through it, give or take. And you can see the first one that comes out doesn't look too bad. Got a little bit of fouling on there, a little bit of green tint to it from the copper that's inside the bore, but not too bad. And what I'll do is run 3 saturated patches through here, just to get the inside of the bore good and coated with that solvent. By the way, you'll notice the patches only go through one way with my precision rifle barrels. Now, this is one of these things that is probably me being a little overly paranoid, but still, I've always done it. I've never had a problem with my accuracy. Patches and bore brushes only go through one way. They go from the breech to the muzzle. They never go backwards from the muzzle back through to the breech. Second patch, actually looking a little bit better than the first patch, which is pretty typical. And I'll run one more saturated patch down the bore. Alright, that's 3 saturated patches. Last one coming out probably has the least amount of fouling of all of them. At this point, I've got the inside of the barrel nice and saturated with cleaning solvent. And you notice what I'm doing right here? I am cleaning off my rod. It's always important to keep your rod clean. And for what I'm talking about today, it's important so you don't get that fouling, pieces of jacket material or anything else on the rod that are going to start to abrade the inside of your bore. Now, as I said before, this is a carbon fiber rod. It shouldn't capture any of that stuff, but still, it's a long-standing habit of mine to keep my rod clean for all kinds of reasons. At this point, I'm going to take the jag off, lay it down there, and I'm going to pull out my .30 caliber cleaning brush as soon as I spot it here. There we go. And what I'm going to do is run this from the breech to the muzzle 10 times. Now, all of that fouling that we just, and again, it only goes through one way, coming down here to take it off, all that fouling that we just saturated in the bore with those 3 wet cleaning patches is now going to be loosened up as we run the bore brush through here. By the way, it's a good idea to have rubber gloves. If I'm cleaning a lot of rifles or a lot of firearms in a row, I wear the gloves so I don't get this stuff all over my fingers. Since I'm just doing this demonstration today and I'm trying to save a little bit of time, I didn't bother putting gloves on. I know this is the exciting part of the video, right? And this last pass coming through makes 10. So now we've had 3 saturated patches, and you notice that each one of those looked a little better and a little better when it came out of the bore, but still we were saturating the interior of the bore with that cleaning solvent. Now we've loosened everything up, and we'll take a look at the patches that we get out this time. By the way, the patches tell you a lot as far as the status of your bore when you're cleaning. I guess I should say they tell you a lot if you use them right. If you just run patches through like I did a while ago, or even if you run a saturated bore brush down the bore a few times and then start to run patches through, and when the patch is clean you decide the job is done, there may actually be quite a bit of fouling left in there. And I'll show you when I run this patch through. Now remember, the last patch that came out didn't look too bad. We'll see what this one looks like after everything's been good and loosened up. And looky there. All of a sudden, it's back to being quite fouled again. Just because we loosened all of that fouling up inside the bore. Now, I go through this particular cycle, 3 saturated patches, 10 passes with the bore brush, and 3 more saturated patches, 3 times. And most of the time, by the time I finish the 3rd cycle, the 3rd patch that I run through on that cycle, even with the solvent on it, is coming out looking very good. For some reason, there we go. That one didn't want to go through. A little bit tighter patch on the end. Okay, look how much better after we ran that first one through, after the cycle of the bore brush, came out very fouled, and then this one comes through looking very good. We'll run one more saturated patch, and I believe it's probably going to come out looking pretty good. If I start to have them look that good right off the bat like this, I might not do 3 cycles. I might just do 2 cycles of the 3 patches, 3 bore brushes, and then 3 patches. Okay. Still a little bit of fouling left on this 3rd patch, but overall that's looking pretty good. I'm going to stop the video at this point and do another cycle of my well, actually at this point I've run 3 more saturated patches through. So I'm going to do another 10 cycles with the brush, and then I'll come back after I get that done and after I run the next 3 bore brushes, or excuse me, the next 3 saturated patches through, and we'll talk about what we're going to do next.